Every week on my Instagram, I run a Q&A with my followers. They ask me their questions about how gender equality and oppression is affecting them in their world, and I answer. If you join me on Instagram every week, you can take part in the Q&A, ask your own questions, get your answers, get involved. What to do if your husband has become an Andrew Tate fan other than immediate divorce? Firstly, I just want to say I am so sorry that your husband has become an Andrew Tate fan. That must be quite distressing. Your husband is someone who I'm sure you thought was on your side, someone who you hoped would always treat you with respect and see you as a person. And knowing what we know about Andrew Tate, it may feel like a very intense and personal betrayal to now know that your husband has taken on values such as those that Andrew Tate espouses. I really feel for you. I do not underestimate how distressing this must feel. I think the main thing we have to understand in this scenario is that aligning with Andrew Tate's ideologies means aligning with a worldview that is at worst in favour of violence against women and at best in favour of turning women into property. There is no way to be an Andrew Tate fan and to sidestep his violently misogynistic ideologies. Andrew Tate is charged with rape and human trafficking. So that tells you everything you need to know about how his level of respect for women is basically lower than beneath the earth's crust. And so if your husband is taking this man and his behavior as a role model, as a hero, what does that tell you about the values that your husband now has and the behavior that he wishes he could partake in? Ask your husband what it is that draws him to Andrew Tate's ideologies, because in doing so, you will be forcing him to articulate it. And you may find that what's happened is he has either developed or more likely reawoken a latent but powerful disdain for women and desire to have power over them. To stan Andrew Tate is to stand that you should have women, plural. It is to believe that you are entitled to the unpaid labour of women. It is to believe that women are objects whose sole purpose is to be useful to you, to facilitate you in your life, to help you to succeed, without you having any obligation to perform any of that care work or facilitation in return. Your husband may now believe, if he didn't believe before, and only you can be honest with yourself about that women exist to serve him. And he may have increased his level of violence and disrespect in his physical approach to you and in his approach to sexual intimacy with you. I don't want to mince words here. No woman is safe in the company of an Andrew Tate fan. You and all women are not safe living in a household with a man who holds Andrew Tate's values or even admires them or respects them. You are a wife. And as a wife, you are expected to bear and raise this man's children. You are expected to put your life and your dreams and your career on hold to facilitate and enable this man's desires and this man's career. You are expected to keep his home fires burning without complaint. You are expected to be intimately and sexually available to this man, because that is what it means to be a wife. Think of everything that you have done and sacrificed in order to be a good wife to this man, and now contrast that against him turning towards an ideology that spits on you, that thinks that you are less than gum under his shoe. Women deserve to be in romantic relationships where the men that we pour our love and our energy and our care into would never even consider imagining for half a second that women are cattle. The fact that this man, your husband, has been entertaining this thought for probably more than a second does mean that he has committed a divorce level infraction. I am worried that you are not safe with this man. So you asked me what you could do other than immediate divorce, and I think my answer is slightly less than immediate divorce. Because if you are able to interrogate your husband about his fandom of Andrew Tate and he can't come up with a really good reason that doesn't endanger you and that isn't misogynistic, and I don't think he will be able to, then you need to consider that he thinks of you and probably all women as a piece of shit. And why would you want to stay married to someone who thinks that you're a piece of shit? Is is it always sexist/misogynist to criticise women in the public eye? Do I have to support and defend people like J.K. Rowling, Posey Parker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rita Panahi, various blackfishing Kardashians just because they are women? No, I do not. Feminism doesn't mean that you're never allowed to criticise other women or hold negative views about their behaviour or their activism. It just means that you have to be very aware that we live in a culture where the prevailing attitude towards women is negative and derisive and dismissive and critical, and we have to hold ourselves accountable to understanding the reasons why we dislike and disapprove of particular women. But in the case of some women's behaviour, it is perfectly fine and logical to have a massive problem with them and what they do. J.K. Rowling is an incredible example. I do not and will never support her. She is so transphobic. There is this aspect of benevolent sexism where we characterize women as harmless and otherwise too weak or too precious to stand up to any kind of criticism. I don't like or approve of the work and behaviour of the women that I mentioned before. They cause harm to minorities and perpetuate oppression against those minorities. And liberating from oppression generally is a core tenet of the feminist project. And it's fine for me and for feminists to critique that. In fact, there are some women who should be critiqued more than they are because they are getting away with benefiting from unexamined privilege and from perpetuating patriarchy. Benevolent sexism can be just as oppressive as hostile sexism, and gender equality means being able to credit women with causing just as much harm as men can. Are all attempts to be a beautiful woman just giving in to patriarchy ultimately? So I think I should first clarify that I do actually think that we should be working towards a standard of beauty for women where we have to do way less and less and less, and it is less onerous. And in fact, that being beautiful for a woman is irrelevant. But I think this question is interesting to answer because I did do a video some weeks ago where I was saying that we do have to kind of excuse ourselves as women for the beauty routines that we do give into because we're all just trying to live as women in a patriarchal world that will treat us better based on how beautiful it perceives us to be. In my case, it's, I get periodic Botox and I wear makeup and I get my hair professionally cut. In your case, it might be manicures and getting your pubes waxed and periodic fake tans or lip filler or something. And so the purpose of my previous video was definitely not to say that women should just buy into patriarchal beauty standards and not examine them. We live in a society where women's beauty matters because of the patriarchy, and it is almost impossible not to buy into it even as we are trying to defy it. But I stress, we should be trying to defy it. I think women should defy beauty standards as hard as we can forever until the patriarchy no longer gets to tell us to spend time and money trying to be beautiful when cishet men do not have this obligation in order to succeed, and they also have more money than us thanks to the pay gap, and they have more time than us thanks to all the domestic labour that we're doing for them. And I really don't believe that beauty and physical presentation choices for women are as simple as my body, my choice. As I have written and spoken about before, feminism is not about simply being able to make choices. Feminism is about making the liberatory choice. If we are going to make any strides towards gender equality as women, it does behoove us to make the liberatory choice and the patriarchy-defying choice wherever we get the opportunity and wherever we safely can. So I get Botox and I wear makeup and I fucking hate that I do those things. In an ideal world, I would be able to just wake up and walk out the door and still have exactly the same amount of chance at succeeding in the world as anybody else. In my ideal world, women wouldn't have to look younger or prettier or thinner or more white European. Because in that world, I would be afforded respect and dignity and opportunities even if I didn't wash my own ass, just like men. That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Do you love exclusive content that's just for you and to sticky beak inside other people's lives? If so, please consider subscribing to my Instagram. Your subscription to my Instagram is less than $5 a month, and that gets you guaranteed answers in the weekly Q&A, which is absolutely not the case for non-subscribers. It also gets you subscriber-only content and a peek inside my life. I do not share on my public Instagram really anything about my personal life, but subscribers get a peek under the hood, how I live, laugh, lol in a feminist way. But personally, my favorite thing is the guaranteed answers in the Q&As. I love being able to tell my subscribers that any question they ask me every week will absolutely get answered. So go to my Instagram and hit the subscribe button. Find me on Instagram at summertothill, that's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.